Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Rizal Muzakky Akbar from Group 2. Here I will explain about the culture between Indonesia and Brazil. Language is a means of communication that is owned by humans, namely in the form of a sound symbol system that comes from the human speech or mouth. First, verbal. In Brazil, the language of unity of Portuguese, meanwhile in Indonesia of official language in Indonesian. Non-verbal. The OK hand sign in Indonesia means OK. Unlike in Brazil, the society signifies a rude or sexually changed attitude. In Indonesia, a hand gesture by inserting a thumb between the index and middle fingers mean a rough or sexual gesture. Unlike in Brazil, this movement means a sign of good luck toward of evil eyes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Rima Nurul from Group 2. In here, I will explain about the lifestyle between Indonesia and Brazil. Lifestyle is description of behavior, practice, and way of life. There are also how a person activities, interact, and what they think about themselves, so that they distinguish their status from other people and the environment through the social symbol they have. The lifestyle between Indonesia and Brazil certainly different. The lifestyle that I will discuss in this video include a comparison between education, food, social ethics, and gender. The first is education. The level of education in Brazil are: the first is basic education. Basic education is education that is compulsory and is freely available to the public. Basic education lasts for 9 years since the child was 6 years old. The second is secondary education. Secondary education lasts for 3 years since the child was 15 years old. But secondary education is not compulsory. Students may choose between secondary education or vocational secondary education. The third is vocational secondary education. Vocational secondary education lasts for 3 years until 4 years. The fourth is adult education. In this education, Brazil offers diplomas to adults at non-traditional universities. The last is higher education. While the level of education in Indonesia are early childhood education, kindergarten, elementary school, junior high school, senior high school, and college. The second is food. Indonesian people, when eating, they use blended rice without any addition of balanced dishes. Meanwhile, when Brazilian eats, they will accompany them with nuts. And every dish in Brazil is always added with olive oil. In terms of how to eat it, Brazilians have a different way, namely eating rice using a fork. This is of course different in Indonesia, which eats rice using a spoon. The third is social ethic. Social ethic in Brazil is so free. In an interview, it was stated that the average teenager in Brazil started having sexual relations as early as 15 years old. It became commonplace in Brazil. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, although there are some teenagers who do things like that, Indonesian people still uphold social value and norm in their life. The last is gender. The role of women is very dominant in the household in Brazil. The percentage of the number of the women household in this country is increasing. They have worked various types of jobs. For example, construction workers. Although the dual role of women is also experienced in Indonesia, but Indonesian people still believe that the head of household is a man.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rahmatul Fitriana and I'm for Sociology B. And in here, I will discuss about festival in Indonesia and Brazil. There are two things that I will discuss here, namely the wedding ceremony and the funeral. First, wedding ceremony. Wedding marriage is a happy thing for women. However, it is different from the Yuapes tribe in Brazil. This tradition is named after the menses tradition. The women of the Yuapes tribe had to be beaten and prayed until they become unconscious. If the woman wakes up and remains conscious, then she is considered feminine. That's why they are considered worthy and ready to marry. They are paraded around the village without a single thread, with naked. This tribe also performs some very cruel puberty ceremonies, namely after the first menstruation. Women will be exiled for several months outside the village. After it is considered time to get married, they will undergo this menses tradition. At the time of marriage, the woman who will be married will be dressed in traditional, and the dress is cover only a few limbs. In Indonesia, we take one of the custom, namely Javanese custom in Javanese wedding. The first thing to do is the celebration before the wedding takes place. It includes putting up a yellow leaf, making decoration for pagar ayu, siraman, midodareni. That is the bread last night before the wedding ceremony. The Javanese traditional wedding ceremony, or it can be called the grill ceremony, has a very ritual. They are carried out such as balangan gantal, the two partners throwing gantal, betel tipped with white threads, mita endok, will step on the egg, and the woman will clean his feet. Then sinduran, that is if the bride and groom are paraded to the islet. Bobot timbang, the parents will take the bride and groom. Then the next Javanese traditional wedding procession is kacar kultur, where the groom pour coins and seeds to the bride, and the last is sungkeman. The sungkeman event, which will end the traditional Javanese wedding procession. The bride and groom kneel before the parents. Then, with the wedding ceremony is kirap. Kirap is a term used when the bride and groom leave the islet to change their clothes. Number 2 is funeral. The story of the cannibalistic tribe that still exists in the world is the Yanomami tribe. The Yanomami are an isolated Indian tribe who live on the edge of the Amazon jungle in Brazil. They have a habit of eating the ashes of the dead, which they usually make salt. And when we talk about this, in Indonesia there are also some ceremonies that are a little scary, namely is ngaben. Ngaben is a cremation ceremony. The ngaben traditional ceremony is a ritual that is carried out to send the corpse to the next life. In this ceremony, the body is placed in a sleeping position, then it is burned, and the ashes will be thrown into the sea. When we talk about the festival of the two countries, Indonesia and Brazil, has a very scared culture. However, Indonesia is the superior or more diverse in culture. So, Indonesia and Brazil both have unique tribes within the country. However, the Indonesia state is a superior when we talk about custom, tribe, and culture, because Indonesia is very rich in it. Thank you.
I'll talk a little about value. The value that can be taken from this is that even though there are different cultures between Indonesia and Brazil, we must respect the differences in order to have a harmonious life. These attitudes will bring down the world and still prioritizing value and morals in state life. So from our group, thank you and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.